Alright, so what exactly is wrong with TUF A16? We all know that Asus has been using some of their AMD Advantage designs on their ROG and GeForce lineups for a couple of years. So it's a little bit weird that they stayed away from all AMD designs for these laptops and jumped to the TUF series with their TUF A16 all AMD laptop. But before we move ahead, huge shout out to Notebook Specs for providing the B-roll review shot which made this review possible. Okay, so as you might know, AMD Advantage laptops are entirely built on AMD CPU and GPU platforms, and this generation bundles AMD Ryzen 7 7735HS Zen 4 processor and AMD Radeon RX 7600S GPU, 16 gigs of DDR5 RAM and 1 TB of storage for an expected launch price of $1300, which convert to 120k INR. So look, the specs and the pricing is kind of sweet pick, but generalizing the performance based on the numbers is not what we are up to. Now before we get ourselves into that part of video, let's focus on the build. So on the outside, it's a bit premium looking device with a plastic main chassis and a metal lid. It shares many exterior features with the recent TUF gaming models, including appearance and feel. Although Asus offers this in two color schemes, black and grey, both with black interiors. It does borrow the black themes from the TUF Dash lineup. It's a little thicker and heavier than current 15-inch laptop, but has the same format and footprint as the TUF A15 models. The overall construction is solid and even better than some of the laptops at the same price point. The lid feels premium to touch and is sturdy, but the plastic used for the interiors isn't as nice. And the main desk flexes a bit in the middle of the keyboard. But it is not the problem either. Weight distribution is pretty good, which means you can open the lid with a single hand. Now the keyboard is not that much different from the TUF A15 and F15 models, and let me tell you, it's pretty sweet. It has all the inputs from the previous TUF 15-inch models, including a full-size keyboard with numpad section and a spacious trackpad. But now comes the part which is not as same as the previous model. Keycaps are different from what we are used to, though they are full black now translucent around the edges. As for typing, I have to say I am pretty impressed. It's a fair typer with alright feedback, and the actuations are quite enough to not be distracting. Plus, with 1.77mm of key travel, it have good amount of response from each keystroke. The touchpad on this device handles swipes and gestures smoothly, but the surface is made of plastic and doesn't feel as solid. It tends to rattle a bit when tapped firmly, but this issue may be limited to the preview samples and may not be present in the final retail unit. As for the ports, the majority of I/O is situated along the left side of the notebook, extending towards the front. The cooling system occupies the rear and side edges, leaving limited space for ports in those areas. Despite not being an optimal arrangement, it still provides all the necessary ports and the connectors. Personally, I would have liked to see the power supply located between the radiators at the back. Now if we go over to the display of this device, Asus offers two screen options for this A16 lineup, all 16 inches, 16:10 and matte. The one we have here is the base Full HD 165Hz option with 7 ms of response time, 250 nits of maximum brightness and 100% of sRGB color coverage. And the higher variant is a bumped up 240Hz QHD option. This is a pretty good display for the price if you're not familiar with the high color gamut. For content watching and basic color grading, it's more than enough. Meanwhile, here is a look at the internal motherboard layout and the cooling module. Nothing to complain about for 4 vents, 2 arc flow fans and plenty of heat pipe. The only difference between this motherboard and the higher spec configuration of TUF A15 models is that the heat pipes are painted black. The noise levels of this device can be a concern for some users, as it can reach up to 50 decibels under load, which can be annoyingly loud without headphones. However, the laptop's fans are generally quiet during simple activities like the office applications, video playback and web browsing, which minimizes noise in minimal non-heavy workloads. It's not just the noise that can be an issue with the TUF A16. It can get quite hot under load, as its components can reach high temperatures. During stress testing with Firmark and Prime 95 for 60 seconds, the processor temperature exceeded 90 degrees, while the GPU reached around 80 degrees Celsius. So, if you are a performance-oriented gamer, it's important to keep in mind that the A16 can run quite hot, which might affect its overall performance and the longevity. The TUF A16's battery life is definitely one of its standout features. Its powerful 90 Wh battery allows the laptop to last up to 1 hour and 30 minutes even under a very heavy load and a maximum screen brightness, which is the best result in the test field. So if you want a reliable and a long-lasting laptop for gaming and work purpose, the A16 is definitely something to consider. Now comes the exciting part. The main upgrade that has made us to come across this laptop is the Ryzen 7 7735HS, an 8-core 16-thread CPU, clock speed of 3.2 up to 4.7 GHz, and TDP range of 35 to 55 watt. Now as it's built on the Advantage platform, it can take advantage of quick shifting between the 7600S and the integrated 680M GPU according to the workload. But what I want to highlight in my conversation is that it has the same persisting issue as the ROG Strix Advantage Edition. The main problem with this system is that it sometimes freezes or hangs for the second when opening a program. This is due to the Smart Access graphic option, which is responsible for the GPU switch, and this is also responsible for the bad thermals that this laptop have. It's not the only issue we have this laptop, but the CPU and the GPU performance bump from the previous generation is not something that excites me. In the synthetic benchmarks like the Cinebench R23, the multi-core and single-core result doesn't show any performance improvement so far, barely exceeding the 6800H. 7735HS comes across as an identical copy of the 6800H, with the only difference being the higher clock speed. And I guess AMD did their most of the work on the efficiency side, and that's what the S stands for in the 7735HS, which suggests that we might get an H variant of this processor with better performance. The Cinebench same storyline is carried over into the 3D Mark Time Spy for both the CPU and the graphics, not something to be amazed of. Now if we take a look at the actual performance tasks, for instance using the Blender and the Adobe Suite programs, and if we consider only performance and set the performance improvement aside for a moment, the results are quite impressive. If you are looking for something that can easily handle your workload, the TUF A16 can be on your list. However, if you are looking for an upgrade from the TUF A15 model, the 6800H variant, it's pointless to even consider this laptop. You should be fine with TUF A15 for a couple of years. But if you really want to upgrade, look for the 13th Gen H series Intel stuff. That should be a better option for you. The gaming benchmarks for the TUF A16 reveals an interesting performance profile. The Radeon RX 7600S graphics shows varied results, sometimes performing slightly below the level of RTX 3060 and other times slightly above. Surprisingly, the 7600S doesn't stand out much from its predecessor, which is disappointing for this year, when the RTX 4000 series is just going way beyond the record that was set by the RTX 3000 series in the previous year. So I think AMD have to do something to be in the competition, otherwise they will be burned down to the essence. However, the A16 is still fast enough to run almost all games at 1440p resolution with frame rates of 40+. Overall, the A16 still provides enjoyable and smooth gaming experience for most users, even if it doesn't have the most cutting-edge graphic performance. So now about my final thoughts on this device. For now, I don't have specific information regarding the availability and the exact pricing of the A16 series, but will let you know as soon as it gets available as the final retail unit. However, I'm definitely impressed with the build quality, display options, and lot of features that have been incorporated into this device. What's more, it's the only AMD Advantage Asus laptop for 2023 lineup. So I believe Asus will go extra mile to ensure that it's both competitive and satisfying to the passionate AMD fanbase out there. Anyway, that's about it for now, and let me know what you think about this Asus TUF A16 AMD Advantage Edition. I hope you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up if you liked it, and subscribe to my channel for more content like this. Thank you so much for tuning in today's video, and I will see you in the next one. Stay awesome, keep spreading positive vibes, peace out.